You're about to listen to an excerpt of Secret City Geek Lab broadcast on KTSTFM.com every Wednesday at 7 o'clock p.m. For more news, reviews, and interviews from the world of geek, visit the Geek Lab at secretcitycomedy.com/geeklab or like us on Facebook at facebook.com/secretcity. Enjoy the show.
Well, first of all, I want to welcome everybody to the Sprockits Stage. Haven't they done a great job setting this up? Amazing convention we have here. Harry Blazer over there and Danielle DePina. And I want to welcome Daymond John, the star of Shark Tank, as you know him, but he's had so much tremendous success even before that, which got him to that platform that he has now. So we're going to talk to him about his success and how he got to where he is, but also answer some questions for a lot of the people who have startups who are really interested in achieving the same levels of success or even more, right?
All right, let's do it.
Okay.
Wait, how many startups in the crowd? Wow, that's the whole crowd.
All right.
All right.
And this is, part of Sprockits' theme, fostering innovation. So this is a place for startups. People don't really know your backstory. A lot of the people, what I really love about you is that you were one of the first people to really capitalize on the hip-hop phenomenon and built a clothing company. But there was a point where you were working at Red Lobster and you were showing up at video sets hoping that people would wear your clothes. Tell me about that.
Yeah, well, so I was working at Red Lobster, and I was the one that handed everybody cheese biscuits at Red Lobster. And, I would go to video sets because I only had 10 shirts, literally 10. And half the video sets I would sit on 18 hours, 20 hours, and then the director or the stylist would come back and say, we don't need your stuff, get out of here, right? But then sometimes I would, because I was such a fan of the art and the music, I would, I would get a chance to talk to a rapper or an artist, and I would get them to wear the video. And then, because I didn't have any money and I only had those 10 shirts, at the end of the video, I'd have to take the shirt back, right? But I did that for about 2 years. And after about 2 years, these videos played so much that people thought I was really a huge brand when I was literally a waiter at Red Lobster with 10 t-shirts in my basement.
And how did the company grow to the point that you were able to put your full-time efforts into that and take it to the level that you ultimately took it? Because everyone knows FUBU, right?
Well, you know what? I actually closed FUBU down 3 times from 1989 to 1992 because I ran out of money, right? Then all of a sudden, I came here to this trade show in 1995, and I stayed at the Mirage Hotel because I had no money to exhibit in the Magic trade show here, and I had no money to actually get a badge to walk into the trade show. So myself and 5 of my friends slept in a room at the Mirage Hotel. We hung up all the clothes on the wall, and we snuck in here and we talked to all the buyers. And we told them, we would say to them, we got some FUBU back at the hotel. So security's looking for 5 or 6 guys with afros talking about, I got FUBU back at the hotel. But out of that, we wrote about $300,000 worth of orders.
So that was really the turning point?
That was the turning point, and then, make a long story short, I turned my house into a factory, I burned all my furniture, moved sewing machines in there, and after a while, Samsung, the textile division, saw that we were really making a lot of noise in the area of textiles and fashion, and they decided to give us a distribution deal.
And that's really the key here, is that it wasn't an overnight thing. I always ask people, how long did it take you to become an overnight success? There's all these different things that happen along the way. So
yeah, every overnight success takes 15 years.
Okay, one more FUBU question, and then I'm going to move on. There was a time that I read an interview where you said that you thought that you should have maybe sold sooner, that you felt like you missed an opportunity. Tell me about that, and what advice do you have for people in terms of timing on when to seek an acquisition for their company?
Yeah, timing is key, and you need to understand when you're in a bubble. I mean, Mark Cuban always says he's the king of selling in a bubble. And And it was one time we were offered, I think, 400 million. No, maybe it was 275 million for the company, and we wanted 400 million. Kmart wanted to buy the company at that time because they wanted to bring this consumer into their stores and have some type of authenticity, and that was around 2001. And we didn't take the money for various reasons. First of all, we were under this pressure by the young hip hop kids that you'll be a sellout. And second of all, we just felt the numbers were really what we felt it should be, and we never took that money. And who was not doing as well as that now, we probably would have taken much less later on. In hindsight, but that's always 2020. So it's really that when you're onto something and it's a bubble and it's when everybody's talking about it, and if you get what I feel is a fair valuation, if you don't have this long 20, 30, 50-year plan, I would advise to at least entertain the acquisition.
Okay. Well, that's a good problem to have, right? When you have companies that are interested in what you're doing. So kudos to you on that. Another thing is a lot of people don't realize all of the different things that you work on. You're investing in these companies. You're one of the stars of Shark Tank, but you also have other projects. Tell me about maybe one or two of the other big things that you're happy about right now.
So, in apparel, we just bought the company eTonic, the footwear company that came out right around the same time as Nike. So we're reintroducing that. In regards to other things, I have a fund. It's a fund called Shark Associates, where we're going out. It's about an $8 billion fund where we're going out and we want to create jobs, and we want to go into cities of Detroit and revitalize it and create. It's a real estate fund. To build a lot of properties there. And then I am looking at tech companies. We have Shark Branding, which is my company that we love to put celebrities and artists along with tech and brands. We've done that many, many times over the years. We've represented in the early stages Pitbull and the Kardashians and Lennox Lewis and a lot of other individuals when we brand them. So we love to bring the sexiness to tech. Tech has the ability and it has all the other things except what we think sometimes it needs a little bit of a sexy play on it.
What do you look for in startups? I'm sure there are lots of people that want to know about that.
Well, first of all, I look at the board and/or the people that are operating the startup. Is it somebody who has been in the business for quite some time and they've lost more than they've succeeded, and that they understand when they're onto something hot? I think that we also like to see that there is some form of proof of concept, that they put it out in the market and they've had a model and they've gotten back all the problems and they're slowly figuring it out. I like to see that it's a problem solver that's running the business. Also, what are the options? What is the financing that's behind it in the beginning? I don't want to go in there where I know that I'm going to be diluted and I'm going to be one of 50 people in the project. So, we look for all those type of things. And again, also, more importantly, do I resonate with it? Do I see a need for it in my personal life?
When people come to you and pitch you with their companies, what are the red flags that you look for?
The red flags are people that are new to the business. The red flags are the people that tell me that, this is a $20 billion market, and if I only get 1% of 1% of 1%, this is how much I would have. The people that, they can't get out of their own way often. I think they're too smart for their own good. They think that they can be both the developer, the programmer, the CEO, and they like to over-negotiate, so end up getting deal fatigue. Things of that nature.
Deal fatigue. I've never heard that concept, but good one. What are the mistakes that you made early on that you wish someone had told you about?
I think initially I did not have financial intelligence. I didn't know, it's really hard to make money and it's twice as hard to keep it, number one. I also didn't realize the value of distribution. As good as your product and as good as it can be, if you don't have a form of distribution to get it out to people, then nobody really know about it. I always knew about branding, so I was very excited about that. But I think those are the two things, to really have strategic partners that, you have smart money behind you, but they don't only just put up money, but they add a value to you. We always say OPM is other people's money, but I look at OPM as other people's manufacturing, other people's mind power, other people's manpower. And I think that it's really important to have distribution and very smart partners behind you.
What are the things you did right?
Things I did right was I had a various amount of mentors with me that did not have any interest in the business, but they knew how to operate a business. It didn't have to be a big business. I had a mentor who had just a little store, a bodega, but he had it for 20 years, and someone who even had a bodega that went up and down in business over 20 years and was successful in it. He understood the fundamentals of business. That was the biggest thing with me. I also didn't go out and die from overfunding. I learned all my mistakes small, and I operated like the power of broke. If it was always easy because you had money to go out and solve every single problem, then you would be a success all the time. But it's operating with the power of broke. I took those 10 shirts and put it on people. I made sure that I understood where the market was moving and where I needed to be. That these things called videos back in the late 80s and 90s were going to be the way that the kids thought was CNN and their Wall Street Journal at the time, right? That's not good or bad. It's horrible, actually, because they thought that. But I always operated with the power of broke and never thought that I needed more money to accomplish something.
And you get into rooms that a lot of people don't get into. A lot of times I interview successful celebrities and they say, well, there was the level that I wanted to get to, but then when I got there, I realized there was an entirely bigger level. Take us into that world in terms of the things that you see now that you aspire to.
That's a really good question. I see that, when I go into many of the corporations, when I'm speaking to them, what I'm noticing now is, and it's the beauty of Shark Tank, the corporations are starting to look for talent within themselves before they go for startups. So, when I speak to them, they are having all their C-level employees, 100 of them, start to pitch to each other in a Shark Tank type thing. And because they all can activate the budgets, they're starting to do that themselves. So, first of all, companies are looking within because they're starting to want to foster something called entrepreneurship. Unlike entrepreneurship, they want to now have people think outside the box. And then when you look at the really, really, wealthy individuals and players in the market, they think a whole different way. When I was sitting at dinner with some of the richest individuals in the world, they were thinking about how many cars are on the planet and how they can tap technology into every single car, no matter who the maker was. Obviously, Elon is doing something like that where it comes to his powering of vehicles, right? They think on such a global scale almost all the time. And then how they execute it is they go and acquire all these small startups and they create a Frankenstein and then they plug it into their system.
It reminds me of 50 Cent when he did the vitamin water deal, which net him $100 million profit. But what was fascinating about it was he went into a room and they said, hey, you want to do a deal with Pepsi? You want to do a deal with Coke? And he said, no, I want to do something with water, right? And water is bountiful, it's plentiful, and he did that deal. So what is your long-term vision for Daymond John?
I have a long-term vision, which is obviously to, at this moment, create jobs. And, many of us on Shark Tank, we never thought that it would last past 1 year. And it has become a show where entrepreneurship is just so hot. And kids these days, they want to be a shark just as much as they want to be a rapper or an athlete, which we value. And we understand that there's a bigger responsibility that we have. So, my long-term goal is, of course, to always be a business guy. I don't want to go home. I tried to retire once, and I was, after my wife at the time kept telling me to empty the garbage, I realized I had to go back to work, right? So, I'm always going to be working, but at this time I want to create jobs. And then I have the obligation of, and the joy of having to work with all these companies. We acquire an average, after we close, 10 to 15 companies a year. And these people are letting us be part of their dream. And, that's our obligation for quite some time. So I'm really taking care of my Shark Tank companies as well as mine right now.
And just a few questions about the show. Lots of people always wonder, how do I get on the show? And they think if they pitch you, they can get on the show. But that's not right, is it?
No, that's the only way that I can guarantee you won't get on the show. Because if I happen to know you or Mark or any of the Sharks know you, then the deck is going to be stacked. So if you talk to me, I promise you won't get on the show.
And when you invest in these companies, do you really stick with them? I mean, are there some that end up not working out from the show?
Yeah, well, that's a good question. So those pitches are about 2.5, they can range up to 2.5 hours long, and you only see 8 minutes of it. And, the close rate on those pitches are about 80%. Now, we're up to about closing on 80% of those deals. Now, if I look at closing on about 15 deals, what happens is, some of them are going to just putter along and they just need a cash infusion. And when things start to move, call me. Some of them are going to, they're going to blow their load fairly quickly. And then you got about 3 or 4 that will start to see immediate return. And I tend to insulate and surround them with people. I hire people at that time according to those guys.
There's a lot of the chemistry on the show. You don't always get along. But is that pretty authentic?
Oh, that's very authentic.
Intensity of the show?
Yeah. Listen, if we're going to play football, you may be my guy, but I'm going to try to crack your head off, right? So, Cuban always thinks he's right. Barbara doesn't take her meds. Lori is, Lori, and Kevin is he's just an evil individual all around, right? And Robert loves every single thing, but at the end of the day, he's just as mean as all of us. And I'm the smartest. So that's just the dynamics that we have, It's hard being the token smart guy on the show. It really is.
And out of all your co-hosts, who have you learned the most from?
That's tough because as much as I joke about them, they truly are brilliant. And I really don't know. Kevin thinks on a global level. He's really, really sharp with that. Mark, his technology and the way that he comes with the good old boy, beers and chips kind of guy, and what I like this is great. Barbara, she's a marketing genius. I know how to put a star on the face of something and push it out. Barbara will think about it from nothing, and she will come up with something really, really great. So it's really hard. And you know what? I think we learn more from the contestants. I think that, there's digital natives coming up there, 16, 17 years old. They know things that I just have no concept about. And that's often why we want to be part of it, because God forbid something happens to the business and we don't do well with that business. We're hiring that person. We're going to start another business together. There's about 3 of my investments that didn't go well with the current investment, but those individuals are running something else, or we're partners on something else.
You mentioned millennials. Do you think we're in good hands? We'll be in good hands with them? Are you inspired by some of the young people that you see that are entrepreneurs now?
I truly am, only because, I happen to be this conductor and or this lightning rod of entrepreneurship, so I get to see more of these people and these kids, and I'm talking about 9 and 10. How many here watch Shark Tanks with their kids? Right? And you see that? These kids are truly amazing, and they think of things because they're so pure in their way of thinking. We are really in good hands. We're not in good hands with who's running the country now. We're in good hands with the kids who are coming up.
Do we have time for questions from the audience? How are we on time? Okay, great. I want to make sure that some of you get to ask questions, because this is such an inspirational opportunity to have Daymond here, and I know there's a lot of talented people out there.
First of all, thank you for coming, Daymond John. Thank you so much. I just want to know, are you working currently with any tech companies or tech startups specifically?
Sure.
That you can share with us?
Mark Cuban and I did a deal with a company called Easy VIP on the show, but I just invested in a company called Resultly out of, a search company called Resultly out of Chicago. And I'm investing in 2 or 3 other ones, but the deals aren't closed just yet.
Good question. And then...
Hi, Daymond. Hey, thanks for coming. My name is Ayinde Alakoye. I'm the CEO of Pitch Radio. How many deals do you do in tech per year? Do you cap it at a certain level? And then also, what's the tech that you're looking for the most right now?
So I've recently gotten into tech the last 2 years, and it's an average of about maybe 10 deals, but 6 of them may be incubator level deals. And what am I looking at again? Something that I resonate with. I really like the health and fitness model out there. But again, if I see something that works, of course, for my fashion aspect, I would look at that as well. I have a project and a conference we throw called Fashion Fest once a year in New York City, where we look at fashion tech companies as well.
Hi, Daymond. My name's Andrea Adams Miller. I'm with the Red Carpet Connection Publishing, Publicity, and Talent Agency. And I have two questions, and I'll combine them for you. One is my daughter and I had the opportunity to meet Jason Hansen that was on Shark Tank with you recently, the CIA with the personal safety thing. And so that's why we became even more familiar with your work. But my daughter, she's 15 years old, and she's been an author since she's 11 and has a teen student success program. And so we've been looking for other ways to expand her in a different horizon and have her encourage other kids with her. And so I'm curious more about how you guys are inspiring and helping those younger people really become those influential, models for our future.
How are we?
Yeah, what are you doing beyond the show that we don't necessarily get to hear the follow-up with?
I can't speak for all the Sharks. I mean, I work with the NIPT Project, which is a network for teaching entrepreneurship. They have about 50,000 kids within their program. And I deal with various amount of groups where we're trying to, help and foster entrepreneurship. But all the other Sharks work with them in some sense or another.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for your information.
You also have a school for adults, right?
Yes, I do have the Daymond John Shark Academy, as well as I do something once a month online called Shark Chat, for people who need mentorship. That's really for adults.
More questions?
Hi, David. Do you invest in films?
No, I do not.
And do you do private?
Why? Because I invested in The Crow. Must have been The Crow 17 or 18, one of them, and horrible. Lost everything.
Okay, and do you do private product placement on films?
We have a product placement agency. We do the product placement for people. We tend to not do films because when we product place in a film, it's too many chances that it can get edited, as well as if the film gets out 2 years from now, that even if, of course, if it's fashion, it's out of style. So we do most of the product placement for the brands that we represent in reality shows, videos, YouTube, and things of that nature.
Thank you.
This young lady.
Thanks very much. I've got a double-barreled question as well. Number one, you said your company failed a couple of times. I want to know what was the motivation that really got you back up on your feet, working again, getting you back on track. Number two, you hinted at not being happy with the current state of governmental affairs. I was curious to know what you thought about Barack Obama, and that's about it. Thanks. Also, I've been a few times in Toronto, and you're right.
Barack Obama, great guy, but my taxes are being raised, and so I don't know who's making that decision, but I'm not having a good time with that now. In regards to, I failed 3 times, but the only thing that every single entrepreneur has in common that is successful is that they love what they're doing. And I know I'm sounding like my grandfather now, and maybe he was on to something, but I don't care if you're a journalist in this room or you're a startup in this room, you've been pushed down and you've been kicked more than you've succeeded, and you only kept doing it because you truly loved what you were doing. Even Kevin O'Leary on the show, when he was hatched as a bird or whatever he was when he was first a lizard, he loves what he does. He loves being the evil little man he is. And if you really love what you're doing, it's just, that's the bottom line. I just love seeing people wear my clothes. I just kept wanting to see that.
It always sounds so cliche, but believe in yourself is such a
cliche, right?
It's
but it's the real. It's true.
Believe in yourself.
Hello, David. My question is, once you've expressed interest in a company and you're sitting down at the table, what is some advice you would give for negotiating with a shark?
So are you talking about on the show or in private life?
Private life.
Well, once I've expressed interest in a company, I mean, it's like any relationship in a marriage. It's what do I bring to it, what do they bring to it? The beauty of not being on the show when you're negotiating is you have as much time as you want to, use a microscope on it and vet it. On the show, I'm really, I'm constrained by the fact that I have only so much time and I have the other buyers that may be potentially interested there. It's just really, there's many times that we've negotiated with companies and they just didn't see any value with all the other things we bring, and then we found that, listen, if I want to go put money into something, I'll play the market. Apple, whether I like it or not, I'll put some money there. I go to sleep. They never call me with a problem. Matter of fact, they won't even give me a free iPhone. But I'll open up the mailbox and maybe there's some money there. So it's always about the strategic value that both of us bring to the party.
And I want to make sure that everybody tweets from this location. It's pound Sprocket if you can. And Daymond, what's your Twitter?
Oh, I'm The Shark Daymond, like Raymond, but with a D. The Shark Daymond.
And I'm at Lee Hawkins, LEEHAWKINS. I'm sorry? At Sprocket or Glory. All right, or Glory. I like that. That's cool.
Yes, a quick question. What are the top 3 qualities you look for as a shark in an entrepreneur?
Well, I said that earlier. It's really about, first of all, somebody has a passion in the company, somebody who has a history of in this space. Somebody who has failed, who has succeeded, somebody who has a good board/mentors around them, and somebody who's a problem solver. Somebody who's not going to call me every single day with a problem. If they call me with a problem, it's, hey, we tried these 10 things, here are the 3 final things that we think are our options. What do you think? And of course, integrity. A lot of times when you deal with people, whether you're hiring them or working with them, do you trust them? Can you sit and talk to and deal with these people 8 hours a day for the next 10 years of your life? It really is that. A lot of people overlook the human factor.
What are things that people aren't asking that you wish more entrepreneurs would ask as they go about their journey?
Aren't asking who, but they're asking
you. Like when you say, wow, no one ever asked me about this.
Well, they tend to ask everything, but, it's going to be about value. It's going to say, listen, you know what, besides money, how can I utilize what you have here? And then they're also going to say, what do you want out of this? A lot of investors invest because they want a social value. A lot of investors say they want to use some of their assets to it, not hard cash. Some want a return on capital. Some want to be part of a better movement. Listen, Robert, when he invests in something, he always says, is it cool? Do my kids, are they going to think it's cool? And am I going to look like a rock star? It's a vanity play, right? So you always need to ask what's in it for the person who's investing. Because if you think it's only capital that they want, some people have more than enough money. Mark Cuban doesn't need any more money, right? So why is he doing it? You got to ask him.
Why are you doing it? Is a lot of it conscious capitalism? Because you say that you're investing in Detroit and doing all. Okay.
It is. I want, as I said before, and I don't want to be a broken record, I want a great job. I also learn from this. When I invest in companies, not only am I investing and I may get a return on my capital, but I tend to meet with and work with brilliant people, and I tend to learn, and I use this for my own good. Let's say that's the greedy part of me. I'll use this, I'll be educated, and I'll be more up to speed. We can read and we can do all these analytics on things, but you never get real, true, usable information until you're in the middle of doing something. And I tend to educate myself with all these projects.
Okay, we have time for about one more question.
Daymond, congratulations on all your success.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Mark Anthony DeBello with markanthonydebello.com, realitytvcontestant.com. 2-part question. How did Shark Tank approach you or Mark Burnett? And then secondly, as we related often to Pawn Stars, which shoots here in Las Vegas, how has, we sometimes think reality TV is basically an infomercial. How has Shark Tank compared to your previous success with Fubo? Greater, less, parallel? Again, 2-part question. Thank you, sir.
Wow, those are great questions. How was I approached? I was on, I think, CNBC, doing a couple of shows on CNBC, and Mark saw me on there, and I believe Mark and the casting people saw me on there, and they realized that I could, these were the shows where people would pitch ideas, and we weren't trying to invest, we were just giving them ideas, and I think one was Donnie Deutsch, and I think that Mark and the crew saw that I could break down a pitch, I was willing to invest, and they did their research on me, and they saw that I had a couple of things in my portfolio. The other one was was the public perception of me changed greatly. Of course, prior to that, I was the FUBU guy, right? I had 10 other clothing companies that weren't necessarily baggy jeans and things of that nature, but people thought I would walk in the room as the FUBU guy, and I had baggy pants on, gold teeth, with a gun on my side, and I started breakdancing, right? And then I think that the perception of the show changed, and they just said, you know what, this guy is, you know, he's a business guy, and he understands business just like everybody else, and you know, and then after that, I just started getting calls from so many other great organizations to say, you know what, you can show young people that, you know, it's cool to be business, so I can be in the corner of a club or a corner of a boardroom. It doesn't matter. It's cool to be smart.
All right, well, our time is up. If you want to see more interviews like this, make sure you go to @LeeHawkins on Twitter. Daymond John, thank you. Give it up for Daymond John.
Thank you very much.
Such an inspiration for so many people. I really thank you for coming out. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody.
This was a production of Secret City Geek Lab on KTSTFM.com. We broadcast every Wednesday at 7 o'clock p.m. Visit the Geek Lab at secretcitycomedy.com/geeklab or like us on Facebook at facebook.com/secretcity.